Hello, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon. How is everyone? How are we doing? Firstly, sad news, we still have not been able to crack the licensing thing. So for each of this plane, we're going to be looking at different platforms. Platform one is Microsoft 365 Admin Center. How many of you have had to work with Microsoft 365 Admin Center before this cohort? How many of you have had to work with Microsoft 365 Admin Center before this cohort? Nobody?
For you to thank you.
I've worked with
And
it
then
before.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Who else? Who else has worked with Microsoft 365 Admin Center before this cohort? Okay. So we're six on the call, minus myself five. So five of you, and now minus Joan, because Joan is taking the program, but she's also my assistant. So, Christiana, Josephine, John, prior to this cohort, you hadn't had anything to do with Microsoft 365 Admin Center. However, the cohort we have created. Okay, so how many of you have had time to go into the M365 Admin Center since the cohort started?
I have. I tried to do some of the lab assignment from last class, but of course there was no high risk, so that was where it was
Yes.
stopped. But
Yes.
I figured my way into it.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Okay.
I have
So
also. I have also.
good. So the M365 Admin Center is your main guy. That's the guy that should be your buddy. That's the guy that should be your go-to. However, Microsoft is moving that guy to what Microsoft now calls the AI security Microsoft.com, because agent is just one set of AI, right? So that's why I said that, you see, after this cohort, well, there's a whole lot of learning that needs to happen because Microsoft is changing a whole lot. So the M365 Admin Center, which should be your go-to guy, is where Microsoft has allowed us to be able to see everything agent and manage, because the M365 Admin Center is one place you can use to manage identities, right? Manage licenses and all those things without having to go to the Microsoft Azure, because the Microsoft Entra ID sits beyond just M365. The Microsoft Entra ID would manage every other thing that is in Microsoft Azure, right? But if a team, for example, because remember in security we talk about least privilege. So if your team, all you do is manage Microsoft 365 ecosystem, you don't necessarily need to have access to Microsoft Entra ID, which is Azure. So in an organization, there's every possibility for you to be an admin over M365 stuffs and never go to Azure. For example, if you're an admin in SharePoint admin, you don't have any business in Azure. If you're an admin for OneDrive, if you're an admin for Exchange, you will not have any reason to go to Azure. But if you're a super admin where you need to also manage identities around the whole identity system, then you might find yourself using Entra ID more than you would use M365. So when it comes to agents and managing agents, right, Microsoft makes it available on the M365. However, the second channel, which is access control, conditional access policy, is managed on the Entra ID, which is formerly called Azure. Now, this M365 Admin Center, we're hearing that Microsoft is moving the agent registry and one other component to what Microsoft now calls the ai.security.microsoft.com. Why? Because agents are now seen as driven by artificial intelligence. So when your organization is mapping their AI security strategy, right, as an AI security person, that's why I said that you guys are, when you want to update your CV, you write your CV as AI security. That will increase your visibility, and then you can now maybe say specialized in Microsoft AI security technology, and you can now start listing it: Microsoft Agent 365, Microsoft AI security management, DPS, Microsoft data protection, security management posture. When you list all these things, boom, recruiters will come after you because you are speaking the language that the organizations are looking for. All right, so Microsoft is moving in there. So I will quickly show us what that looks like. It's all, again, it's not I've not finished setting it up because while playing around with this morning, I realized I needed to turn on the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. There's a setting there called Data and AI settings, and you need to have an active Azure subscription. Again, all the tenants I have don't have Azure subscriptions because they were just developer tenants. So the process to set them up required lots and lots. Again, I might just put up fresh new subscriptions today, pay for 1 month, and then when it's done, we shut it down, just buy a new domain, make everything like as if I'm setting up a company, just so that we can have something to play around with by next week. That's my last resort. But I will again show us what it looks like. So that will now become a platform that you need to get familiarized with, because with that one, you will see everything AI in your environment from a security landscape and lens, and the gaps that are there, right? So we'll look at that one. If we can't look at it today, I will add it to what we look at next week, because by next week I'll be taking you through how you need to do your project and then telling you what your project topic is. And then the upper week is no class, you do your project, and then the final week you present your project. All right. Okay, so let me extend my screen to show the M365 admin. I'm going to be navigating through different M365 admins just so that I can get the one that gives me the kind of look, because I saw so many ones. Okay. Let's see, this one is, which tenant is this one? This tenant D. All right, so this is how the M365 admin looks like for those of you who are familiar with it. By the left-hand pane here, you will see home. Before Microsoft brought Copilot, we never used to have Copilot here. We never used to have agents here. Like Justina, who I've worked with for years, should remember, we never used to have these two things here, right? These are new things that Microsoft introduced, and you see it there. Now, this Copilot, what I just realized is, for us to be able to see certain things with Copilot, we need to have at least one Copilot license. And so that was the challenge with this tenant. This tenant did not have the Copilot license that was required. That's why you can see Copilot chat is default, but the M365 Copilot itself, it didn't have it. So that's one of the challenge why we can't see much here. But I'll just take you through what you can do here, so that by next week, fingers crossed, I'll get it, you see. So from here, if you come to the security, now don't forget that you can't see any of this if you don't have the right role. I would add the roles that you need to be assigned in next week class and explain what roles. So when you come into Microsoft 365, what you are able to see is based on the type of roles that you have been assigned. So you need to be assigned the AI administrator role at the minimum to be able to see some of these things, right? Now, if you come to the Copilot overview and then click on security, you would see Microsoft recommendations for you on things in your organization, right, around how they are using the Microsoft Copilot, which you know is AI, right? How many of you know that Microsoft Copilot, right, is Microsoft's own AI? Let's even ask that. It looks like a very now I should know, but I just want to be sure. I hope we all know. Hope we're on that page, right? We understand that Copilot is AI. Are you with me? Do we know that? Exactly. Yes. So at the barest minimum, we know that Microsoft Copilot is AI. It's just that Microsoft has different use for it. So you have the Microsoft 365 Copilot. The Microsoft 365 Copilot chat is the equivalent of ChatGPT. The Microsoft 365 Copilot Studio is what you have today. For those of you who are familiar with Claude Cowork, that's what you have like there. Sorry, Claude Code, that's what you have there. And then different, AI stuff. So when you come here, you will see Microsoft's recommendation automatically for your environment, right, based on what it is seeing people do with AI. So you can see in this place is already giving you some recommendations. So for example, to prevent data leak, we all know that one of the major security gap, right, with chat AI is data leak. The major security gap that exists with the use of artificial intelligence is what? AI leak. You see people copy a sensitive document, take it to ChatGPT, paste it, not ask themselves, this ChatGPT, where's the server, where's the data, and put, right? And then somebody somewhere has done some prompt injections about your kind of company, and AI is providing that information you had told it about. You are sitting in somewhere in your Texas, somebody is somewhere in New York, and maybe it's after your company, and ask AI related questions, because AI has that knowledge, AI response. But your company is thinking that information is only private to them within their company, not knowing that a staff has taken that information because probably they wanted to do a report, they wanted it fast, so they took it to ChatGPT, and they had left that ChatGPT can use any data that they inform it to train his model, and ChatGPT does that and can respond to somebody. So what do I say to people? Every response you're getting today from AI is a function of somebody imputing an information. AI is not as smart without the information. That's why the reason why AI is as smart as it is that we're all gathering our experience inside it, right? So I sit in a room with people and I say, today you have the experience of 100 and something years, and they'll be looking at me and say, yes. I said, we are 5 people probably on a panel, and 5 of us, if you look at the number of years, maybe 10, 15, this, if you totally, that's the number of years of experience you're engaging with, and that's why AI can operate in its capacity. Meanwhile, you as an individual, you probably finished school and have done only 5 years in the industry, and you are operating with a 5-year experience, and your boss is expecting you to deliver at this magnitude. You can't outmatch AI. So I tell you, if you understand it, then you understand why AI is I love AI so much, because it's here to make our life better if we know how to use it for the right reasons. So from a security lens, right, you can't know everything, so you want to rely on technology to help you. So Copilot can tell you where data is currently being leaked, and so it has some default policies here, and this is where you play around with it. It will tell you to give you recommendations based on what it sees. So for example, it says prevent data leak in Copilot interactions for all users, right? And the recommendation is that you should enable this, but then you can see that it's not enabled for anybody. Well, that's because there's no Copilot, right, license currently used here, right? But it also tells you that by default they've also turned Copilot scanning for sensitive info, and sensitive info being monitored for all users by default. But then they are recommending that you should also use a policy that prevents data leak, right? And they're telling you that it's not been turned for any user, but because we don't have Copilot here, this will not be an issue for you. So this is how, if you, for example, in your organization, you just want to do a high level AI, security posture report for your boss, you can go through these different sections and put out the report, and then that way your organization can already know how much they are being exposed. So for some organizations, if you already have Copilot in use, you will remember this is a demo tenant, so that's why we don't have Copilot license, and that's one of the reasons why we're struggling to show you some things. But then you'll be able to capture this and tell you here. It can go ahead to tell you, you can see prompts that are with info types, right, information types. So if you tie back to our data security, if you've had sensitive information types, we call it here, and then it can now help you prevent data leakage in the Copilot interaction itself. So this policy that is here, where it's telling you to recommend it, right, it has come here to leak that policy. So by then this place will be turned on, right, and when you click manage policy, you will now be able to edit the policy and apply it. It's coming to tell you about another policy for data oversharing. Another thing that AI causes in organization is oversharing. What does oversharing mean? I have a folder, maybe a SharePoint site that has payroll. So I remember in the banking industry, then they would tell internal control would say HR will need to export an Excel sent to internal control. That Excel is a list of everybody in every department that is entitled to be paid for that month. Some people will go on leave. Some people would probably have asked for sabbatical. That some people would have maybe asked for sick leave. Some people would have naturally been on leave. Some people will be on maternity leave. Some people will be taking maybe extra benefits that month, maybe leave allowance, whatever payroll is supposed to be like. Every month they send that Excel sheet to internal control. Internal control will review and vet it and say, I'm seeing Joy here, but last month, right, we got an email that Joy had exited the company. How come Joy is still on payroll? Because it still happens. Some organizations can play that trick and form that they don't know. And by that time, you, the exited staff, when you get it, when they're writing to you, you say, when I have the money, I'll pay. I'm not denying, but whether I like it or not, that's income leak, right? So how do you curb that kind of thing? So if you wanted to, if we're going to a world of AI right now, follow my thoughts. Without AI, what that organization will currently be doing is when they export that list, they'll save it in their SharePoint library, right? That has that sheet, or they will save it, maybe they'll call it payroll April 2026. And it will have that whole details that has everybody's name, how much you are collecting, both as basic, tax, whatever benefits. And then they will probably now, from that SharePoint, click on share it with control. Are you following me? And then when they share it with control will finish, and probably the person that they share with control, they'll probably give the person maybe read write access, maybe because the person wants to edit it, they want to do collaboration, just so you understand how exploits happen. And then the person would have collaboration, and then the person who is looking at it sees something that is of concern and says, oh, let me find out from John if John can collaborate his thing. So they reshare too. So are you seeing something that started with HR has been shared to maybe Justina in control? Justina shared it to John, who is in control but in another team, or in control but was not giving the initial access, but she has shared because she had access to share. And what would now happen is when you go to Copilot and tomorrow maybe John leaves that department and goes to another department, but John still wants to know how much people are earning. Maybe John goes to another team and is interested in how much is the salary of this. All John needs to do is sit on the AI Copilot and say, AI, Copilot, can you please help me get the salary of the MD? Right? What Copilot will do when you drop that in the chat is go to everywhere you have access in your organization. Now, don't forget that we're working in an organization perspective. We're not working with ChatGPT, that is internet. In an organization perspective, Copilot works with every type of permission that you have in that organization when you engage with it, to look at all your privileges, and to take that access that you have and go to everywhere there's data store. So that's why in AI security, there's something we call data oversharing, right? We also call overprivilege. In data oversharing, we're saying there are so many data that contain sensitive information that has been overshared. It should have just been shared with 1 to 2 people, but it's been shared and shared. You want to see how many data has that kind of oversharing. So what security tool does is it will go around, it will look for URLs that have multiple people who have access to that URL, and to flag it as oversharing. And once it flags it as oversharing, you now have the access to you now have the ability to either call it out to the owner, because you're able to see who owns that link and then see all the people that have access to it, and you can say, oh, Justina, you have a folder called April Payroll 2026 and you have shared it with all these people. Justina cannot be like, no, I only shared it with Joy in internal code. Well, it's been shared with this, so you need to go and break that sharing, close it out, and stop sharing. Right? So, in order for you to have that visibility and prevent people from just sitting down and querying, sending info, sometimes people don't even know that they have access permission. For example, a team lead can say to HR, see, everybody in my team, they need to do this work because I can't be stressing myself. So give access to that folder to everybody in my team. And maybe they raise a request to IT to create a team called payroll reviewer, internal control payroll reviewer. Powerful. So they give everybody access. 2 months down the line, the bank does graduate training program. After the graduate training program, they assign them a staff called Nkechi. Nkechi joins the internal control team, but she's a new staff. She's part of the team, but she's not yet matured to be able to handle payroll review. So she's in internal control, but she's not handling peer review. So one day she's trying to do stuff and doesn't have access. And so she asks her friend, Jamiu, who is in the same team. And Jamiu likes Nkechi. Nkechi is a nice girl. She smells nice, dresses well, bone straight, very nice girl. And Jamiu said, oh, you don't have access to this. Let me check. Oh, I can see you're not a member of payroll. Maybe it's because of that you don't have access. He doesn't ask question, sends a request to IT service legs. They grant Nkechi approval. Boom. It doesn't go through any process. Hold on. Who? All right. And then Nkechi now has access. Joy, who is the team lead, never knows that now Nkechi has access. Justina and HR never knows now that a new, because all she was just told is to grant that group. So now that's over permission. So you can see I've given you different use cases. As security, you can't know everything. So you want a tool that can tell you where the gaps are. This is one of the tools that we use to know oversharing. And it applies to whether it's agents, whether it just tells us where there's oversharing. It has told us the ones it will do by default, which will be if their sensitivity labels already assigned. Again, we have a course that we did last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, on textilers. If you go to our YouTube and watch it, on data security, we talked about sensitivity labels. It's a good beginner course. You understand how labels are. So if your organization is already using sensitivity labels, Copilot has the ability to say, oh, this label is private. So even if the information Nkechi is asking for is from a document that has been labeled confidential, it will not show it to her almost immediately, even though she has access and stuff like that, and it will flag it. And then you can now, when you spot it, reduce that. Again, how do you reduce oversharing? You can see it's not started here, and it has told you that if you go to Purview, are you seeing it? If you click on Purview, you'll be able to reduce that, and you can see it says no SharePoint because this tenants we're using, we don't have SharePoint and all of that, so it's not used. But it will be able to tell you, I see all the sites that it has found that has oversharing. It will show you the files, and then you can now go to Purview and manage it. Any questions? Is this making sense, guys?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Then another thing that you can do again as a security person when it comes to Copilot is to look at your data compliance, right? Again, we have the ability to enhance compliance for Copilot interactions. Interactions is that chat, that question you're asking ChatGPT, but in this instance, if you're in a company, it is now Copilot chat, right? Those interactions you're having, right? We can enhance compliance. What is compliance? So your organization, for example, needs to adhere to certain compliance restrictions where there's certain things you cannot do, right? It will be able to spot it that, Joy is copying PAN. So, for example, your organization needs to adhere to PCI DSS. I haven't done PCI DSS in years, by the way, but I'll use my old school brain. So, one of the PCI DSS things is that you don't share PAN. So, for those who don't know, PAN is your ATM card, the number, right? That your full long number is a private data. Right, so in PCI DSS, you're not supposed to expose PAN. You're supposed to max it if you are sharing it. Right now, some people just copy it and paste it somewhere. So PCI DSS expects that anytime a system sees full PAN, it's supposed to enforce some form of security. It's part of the PCI DSS requirement. So when your organization probably is going through PCI DSS, they need to make sure that proof to the PCI DSS assessor that they have technologies that can do that. So now Microsoft technology can allow you, it can say, okay, you are a bank, a financial institution, you should do that. So if it sees anybody pasting maybe full PAN in chat, it can flag it that this is not complying with PCI DSS. It would put that, right? And it also gives you some default protection. So it works with Microsoft's own AI compliance by default, and then some security by default. But then you can also configure again in Purview what your compliance in your organization is, and then once you do that, you'll be able to put that security in place. Right, so this is what you get from a Copilot perspective. So the moment you turn Copilot on in your organization, right, and you come here into Copilot security, you automatically can conduct a high level assessment without stressing yourself, that tells your organization where data is currently being leaked, that tells your session, your organization, data oversharing, where it's happening, and how you are not adhering to compliance. So imagine your existing organization, if you just ask them to give you AI administrator role, or sorry, AI reader. So AI administrator can allow you make changes. So maybe at your level, your boss doesn't want, is afraid of giving you AI. Ask for AI reader, security reader, and I think there's another one is a reader. You'll be able to see all of this and do a comprehensive report. And you can tell your organizations where you are. And the truth is, it can drill down to what that chat was, who did that chat, if you go down to it. And so just playing around here, I'm looking at this thing and I'm telling you, if back in the days when I was working on client side, now I'm a consultant, right? I only do what the client wants me to do. But back in the days, I would come and spend time here and I'll pull up a report for my boss and say, sir, this is how much we are being exposed, right? Because we're using artificial, and we don't need to block it, but we just need to make certain configuration changes. And it's okay to tell your boss, I don't know, say, sir, I know that we're all new to this, but if we can call our Microsoft partners, because your Microsoft partners have funding to educate you, if we can call our Microsoft partners and work with them, they'll be able to tell us, what we can benefit from our licensing to be able to allow us secure ourselves. Your boss wants to listen to you, because your boss, remember, doesn't know about AI, but at the management, they're talking about it. He needs somebody to make him empowered, right? So that he goes to his leadership team and sounds very intelligent. And that's what you are doing. All right. So here, if you come to usage, you'll also be able to see the adoption of the user. You can see that there are no M365 licenses. It will be able to tell you. So from a security perspective, you can see how licenses are being used. You can see how licenses are being used, who is using it. So you can see in this instance, people are using Copilot Chat, but they don't have license. And Copilot Chat is, you don't need to be licensed for it. So it's telling you that 6 of your users who don't have normal Copilot licenses are currently using Copilot Chat, which is okay. Now, when you come to the license, you can see no one, because we don't have Copilot license on this tenant, right? The same thing with agents. We don't have the Copilot license, will enable us see the agent usage, right? These are for agents. So that's why all this place is empty. But this is another good visibility for your organization and for you as a security person, to give you an insight about what's happening with Copilot. Okay, now when we come out of Copilot here overview, we now come to agents, right? And go to the overview, right? And agents is where we are focused on. I gave you Copilot because from a security perspective, agents are also seen as AI. So they will feed, there's a part of them that feeds up into Copilot. So if you look at the other cohorts, if you remember, there are some people that are building something AI web apps, building these, all those other AI things, that everything will show under Copilot. But the people that are doing only agents, everything will be under agents. But you in security, your organization will want you to position yourself as AI security and not necessarily only agents. So even if our course for this cohort was more of agents, we're positioning you more as AI security. So that's what I'll be expecting all of you to be updating your LinkedIn profile and CV with AI security, because you're now you now have an idea of how to secure AI using Microsoft technology, right? Now, what does the agent 365, which is what Microsoft just released general availability, we call it GA, I think in March, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the overview. Again, a lot of things are not visible, but we'll spend time and see what we can do. So the first thing to tell you is agent registry. And now this agent registry is a combination of agents that are deployed by your own creators, agents that are employed by third party, and agents that Microsoft gave you by default. So when an organization says, oh, we're not doing, there are some agents by default Microsoft releases to your tenants to do certain things that is part of the Microsoft consumption you bought. And some of the third parties that you have done integrations with, you will have them have agents that help them do some of those automations. They don't do it by themselves again. And then the agents that you yourself you in your organization has been built, you will see it here, and that's what forms agent registry. So just understand registry as that book that keeps everything. So if you've played in IT for a while, you will know that we used to have what we call the CMDB. That's what we used to use to keep record of all type of assets in the organization and inventory. So that's the concept Microsoft is using with agent registry, where it gives you an insight into every agent that is in your organization that is hosted on Microsoft tenant. Now, can you add, if an organization says we build agents in AWS, we build agents in Google Cloud, can I import it here so that Microsoft can help me manage? Yes, just the same way we can use, for example, the Microsoft Defender for Cloud to manage. That's why they call it a multi-cloud. We can do the same thing here, and that's what calls registry sync. That's what will bring us to this place called registry sync. Before I jump back, I want to just confirm, do we understand what agent registry is now?
Yes.
Good. So when you click on the agent registry, you can now get more details about all the agents, right? This is where the beauty would have been. Peradventure, we had activated the license, but again, not to oversound it, I will, because this will tell you at the barest minimum the name of the agent, its status, is it available. So what you can do, why are you interested in this? Those agents that by default the third party providers have made available, you could, as a security person, hear online that, oh, there's a security vulnerability, and it is that Adobe just released an agent that can interact with your Microsoft Teams Copilot and this, and that agent has the ability to be able to export your company data into Adobe server. You're a security person, you hear it. Maybe you don't even hear it, but the guys in threat and vulnerability hear it, and so they come to you and they say, you are our security architect, you're a security, you're a security SME, right? What do we do? Or you're our Microsoft security person, what do we do? We just saw that there's this threat where there are agents that are inbuilt into Microsoft tenants, and what do we do? This is where it allows you to be able to get more details. If you come here and click, for example, let us say this is the agent, we would be able to see more around this agent. So we can see when the agent was created, we can see the publisher, right? We can see that it's a third party, it's available to all users. Right, we can't get any other details because of that license we don't have. We can see all the channels that can use it. So currently, this agent can be used by Copilot, can be used by M365, can be used by our email, can be used by Teams, right? Because it's default. You can see work with PDFs directly within this Excel when you open or reference this and all of that. So there's been that vulnerability threat that is published. What do we want to do with this? So we can get what do we want to do with this? At that point, we come here and we click block. Can you see block? So this is how you remember. So you can say, oh, it's been flagged that this, and once we click block, it will block it, right? It will be blocked from users. You can come here to see again details. So you can come and restrict it. Maybe they say, oh, this agent is good, but we feel it's too intrusive. There's a new business user that we're setting up. These users are called virtual agent. I remember those days working in the bank. We used to have, we called them, they call them virtual. Is it virtual? I don't know if you remember when in the university, it happened in my university days, they would come to schools to open bank accounts for people. There's something they call them virtual bankers or virtual agents. I can't remember again, right?
Direct sales.
Direct sales, yeah. The truth is, those people are not really full-time staffs in the bank. I don't know if it has changed, but back in the days, they used to be very specialized staff. Like they will recruit them for a period right? And they would do that thing for that period. They were not like banking staff. But you, who is a customer coming into that booth, maybe you see that event in your school, they are blasting music, they put some nice breeze, you're excited, you think they are bank staff, they are not. So when we are setting them up on the system, there are certain things you don't want them to see. So for example, your organization could say, oh, these certain agents, we found out that these agents are very highly sensitive or intrusive. We don't want, I remember then we set them up, they'll tell us they don't want them to have email. When they go out and do that thing, they should only have one person who sends the email and reports what they have done. They don't want everybody to have email, but they want them to have access to, maybe there was a portal where they need to drop a report or something. So we'll create them with accounts, but we won't give them accounts that have email but login, stuff like that. So you could also come here and restrict what can happen. You can restrict it that this thing shows only to particular users. You can restrict it that everybody can install it. You can you can even say, okay, I'm not going to block it out from there, but I'm going to say that no user in the organization can install. This is what you can do here. And then this tells us what the agent can do, right? So good thing here, it says it can read, no, it can't read, and then some other things that it can do. So this also gives you some details if you don't have anything. The security here is on we can't see more, but this is where it would have told us that vulnerability that I'm talking about. So it's not you trying to crack again your brain to know a vulnerability. The system can flag what those vulnerabilities are. We see the permissions that it is using. So you can see that it's quite, it's not that much of permissions that is using, but then it still has one or two. It has one high here. It can read files. Are you seeing it? It can read files. So you want to also ask yourself, do we want to allow certain of these permissions? And you can see that that's why it has a grant admin consent, because some of these permissions, at least two of it is high. These are some of the things we can see. And then are there any certification that this agent has passed through, okay, that makes it compliant? So you can see that it's compliant to some of these regulations, to online child protection, is compliant to these. There's some regulations that is compliant to. So you can, are you seeing it? So that if your organization wants to use this kind of agent. Now, what does this tell you? It tells you that whether or not your organization is using agent, as long as your organization has Microsoft 365 by default, there are some agents that Microsoft has partnered with third parties, and they have by default pushed it into your tenant. It is there. So your staffs, out of curiosity, can discover them and begin to use them. So that's why, as a security person, you want to do an audit. You probably want to say, okay, I want to do an audit of all the agents in my organization and understand the permission level of this of these agents, right? How much intrusion do these agents have? What are these agents used for? Do we turn them off? Do we allow them? Do we even go to the root setting and turn it that no agent will turn, or do we turn it off as it comes? Right. So if you look at the assignment today where we said pick one agent, tell us what it is. So you can see that for this one, we saw some high permissions here, so we want to know for some concern perspective, because there are some permissions here that are high. Should we leave it up? So if I took this kind of agent as the agent I wanted to do an analysis, right? It's just that the security side is not showing. I would say, okay, that this agent is granted to all users. It has access to this, and it has permissions that allows it to read the files and write to the files, right? So I will classify this agent probably as a high risk, a high risk agent, because it has the ability to be able to read, write. And then I will now come with my recommendation, maybe streamline it to only departments that need it, or put a workflow around it. I would say block. So this is kind of thing we're asking you, right? You want to block. Now, when we get the right license, you will see where Microsoft has also done its own risk metrics for it. So that's why I said that even without these things, we can still make good use of what we have, where you on your own come up with what you think the risk is, and you can be, there's no right or wrong when you are measuring risk, right? For me, if I was doing this assessment, I would call this application high risk, right? Because I can see two high permission privileges here, and when I read what they are, this one says allow the app to read all the files the signed in user can access. So this agent can read all the files that it can access. So if I install this agent into my Outlook, it can read all my Outlook files. Now I don't know what that means when it reads it. Is it keeping a metadata of that on the cloud? Are you seeing it? And all of that. So I can even now, based on this, recommend that this agent, right, under the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, should be configured to detect, any anomaly with it. Or I can say that my recommendation, so if I do an audit, if I to do the assignment that was given to you guys, and where we said pick one, right, if I pick this one, this will mean I will say that this agent, after reviewing the permissions, I noticed too high permissions, and based on this I'm rating this as high risk, right? I noticed that it's been assigned to all users in the organizations, right? In the along zero trust methodology, it has broken zero trust methodology. We try to say least privilege, right? What's the justification for applying this to all users? Are you getting it? It's a third party risk. I'll say that it has good rating score with certifications, right? It's green, almost all international standard certifications, right? It's green. It has TLS 1.2, so it's data. But then, for example, now are you seeing here data storage United States of America? For someone like me in Europe, if I see this in our tenant United States of America, I know it's an automatic block. And does anybody know why? Because the EU has a policy not to store any of its data outside EU. Do we know that? So if you're working for an EU company, EU has that. America doesn't have that. That's why America is fighting TikTok, because they know that TikTok is not American. They're keeping their data outside. But EU has a standard. You cannot store their data. If you have to store their data outside, there are specific kind of data they can allow you. So if I was benchmarking this across an EU company, I would automatically say that my justification for saying we should block this, are you seeing it, is that it stores its data outside EU. And so I will recommend that we block it and only assign it to the specific teams that we need. So you can see we have quite enough details here to guide us. Okay, does quarterly patch management, these which are good, lots of good things here. But I'll flag that it keeps its data only for 30 days, which is good. Can a user delete personal data? No, which is good. Can a user restrict the product? No. Yeah, so you can see details. So your role as a security person is to determine, should we keep this agent up and running, or should we block, or should we restrict the access? That's what we're asking you in the assignment, right? So even without the security and activity tab on, you can do some form of security assessment on this, and then you can take your actions. Is that clear, guys? Hello?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Another thing you want to do with the AI registry when you're doing your report is to say, okay, I have 225. Let me do some form of intelligence. Your boss can say, 225, which one are you can go by platform. So you can come here and say, no, let's use publisher type. I think that one is more interesting. I can say, so we have 4 categories. I can say how many of them are third party. I think so it can tell me I think 50. So I have 154. So I can now create maybe a report. In my report, I have 154 agents that have been discovered, and out of that 154, 50 are third party, right? We know what third party is. Third party is you don't own it, is whatever. So I can audit it and say out of these 50 that are third party. So in your assessment report, you can do the same thing. You can pick one per publisher type. You pick one and say, I audited, because you can't start auditing everything as assignment. Just pick one, audit it. But in your real world example, you can do this, first of all, a high level, because you want to, if you spend time auditing each one, it's time, but you want to first of all get your boss to be curious about the level of agent exposure and AI exposure that is in your organization. You could just do this high level reporting to say, we have 50 out of it that are third party. If we move from third party and move to Microsoft, let's see, we have 27 of it that are Microsoft. Okay, so 11 minus, we have 97. Okay, we have Are you seeing that are Microsoft agents? These are Microsoft agents. Are you seeing? We have the researcher agent. We have, these are different type of agents that are by default in your tenant, right? You can see this one is not activated, and you can see the date they were all created, right? All of these were created from May, June. So some of them were default maybe when the tenant was, and then we can come and say your users, the ones that are created by your users. Are you seeing it? So these are your users. How many of you know that once you go to your, let me launch it for you now. Let me go to my M365. Even today, if you look at your office, just go to your M365 login page, right? The one that takes you to your Copilot, which is like ChatGPT interface. If you go there, please let me know when you can see mine. Can you see? So this is your supposed ChatGPT interface, right? That you would use if you were working with ChatGPT. So this is Copilot's own, right? You can see that from here, I can say new agent. Everybody has the ability. I can create a new agent, right? So once I say new agent, you can see it, agent builder new, and I can say I want to create an agent that can conduct a security risk assessment of agents in my tenant. I'm just doing randomly. I've never created an agent before, but let's see. And it's going to ask me for some things. So I'm just trying to tell you that people can create agents. So while it's thinking about how to create agents, let's go back to the M365. So this is saying that in your organization today, in which this tenant is 24 out of that, this 225, right? 24 out of these 225 were created by users. That's the meaning. Are you seeing it? 24 out of these were created by what? By users. So remember, we saw 50 was third party, 27 was Microsoft, 24 by users, right? And you can tell you the platform where they created this from, and you can see how many of them are already available. And then, so for example, let's just take one random one. This one says fit body. If we click this fit body, right, we can see it was created 17/2026. One of the users, we don't have more of these details because we don't have Entra ID, but then let's go to users. We can see this agent is not shared with any individual, okay, and this agent is not shared with any group. Are you seeing it? So this agent, even though it is available, it's not shared with anybody yet. Are you getting it? Publisher type, it can read public sites. That's what this agent can do. So it's a fit body, and the agent, the ability is to go to the internet and read public sites. There's no sensitivity label yet assigned to it. If we come to the permissions, this agent doesn't have permissions from back, so it's good. So we can say, okay, this agent doesn't have, and this agent doesn't have any owner yet, right? So if I, and it was deployed from Copilot, if I wanted to audit this agent, the same thing. There are some security gaps that I can see here. Who can tell me one security gap that is here with the information we have now? Maybe if we had the full license, it would tell us, but currently it doesn't tell us who the owner is. So let us, that it doesn't tell us who the owner is, so let us assume it doesn't have the owner. It doesn't give us it tells us that from here we can see it's not assigned to any user, and we can see no sensitivity label. Yeah, so the kind of gaps you want to put out here is there must be an owner. Let's even know who owns this, right? What is it being used for? Who is it assigned to? It's not assigned to anybody, okay, but it's active. And there's no sensitivity label for it, right? Good thing, we like this because it's not using any of our Entra permissions, meaning that it's leveraging on its own permissions to just go straight to the internet. We can see that its knowledge base is internet, right? Where's that place? There's a place that told us where. There's a place that told us where it goes to. It goes to the internet. That means that data and tools, sorry, yeah. So it tells us that it goes to the internet, but it doesn't have sensitivity label. So I can do a rough audit on this one. Let's look for another one. Let's look for cop and chat assistance. Okay. Cop and chat assistance is to help users related to the coffee shop. Users is assigned. It's not assigned to anybody. It picks it from FAQs. Let's see. Starbucks FAQs. Okay. So it picks its information from the internet based on FAQs. It can read public sites. So good. It's not. This agent again is not using our permission. It's restricted to the internet, and it picks its information straight from a dedicated data location. Perfect, right? It doesn't also have users, and it's in draft. It's not yet available. So this is how you can go through of the agents. But then from a high level executive summary, you can say, okay, we have 24 agents already built from our organizations, and they are built from the Copilot Studio platform and Agent Builder in Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? So Microsoft 365 Copilot is this one that I'm trying to, are you seeing it? That I was trying to, you can see Agent Risk Assessor is already trying to build the agent for me. I'm just going to try and build. So it's not asking, choose the sources your agent will use to generate response. So here I can add sources. Search all websites, only use specific sources. I wanted to search all websites. Capabilities, what can it do? It can create document, charts, code, create images, and add in response. Just put that. Suggested prompt. It has given me some suggestions. I'm not even going to try and do anything. You can see draft. This one is called Agent Risk Assessor. Let's see if we can see Agent Risk Assessor here. Okay, it's not yet showing here. Sorry, I clicked stop sharing. Please let me know if you can still share. Okay, let me see. Create. Your agent was selected. The agent is currently private and only available to you. Go to agent. Okay. Yeah, and then if I want to share anyone in your organization, agent risk assessor. I hope I should be able to. Where am I? Sorry. What's happening now? I have clicked on. I don't know if you can still see my screen on.
Yes, we can see your screen.
I want to refresh and see if we can see. If not, we'll come back to it, but we should be able to. I don't know what the sync time is. Yeah, so can we see it here? Can we see my agent now?
Yes.
Yes.
So you can see my agent risk assessor. You can see I use the agent builder in M365, which that's what this is. This is an agent builder because this is M365. I didn't use the Copilot, right? And I'm a typical user. It was created 13 June. So people can create agents now in organizations without any, they can tell their agents to join. And it could be that maybe my job requires that I go online every day and check for the latest vulnerabilities. So I can put, maybe if I used to get vulnerability from different vulnerability websites, and I don't want to manually spend my time always going to those websites every day, I can create an agent that says every 8 o'clock go to this website, and I will list all the websites and check for the latest vulnerabilities and create a report for me on the latest vulnerability, the platform that is, and then to pull that report and send me an email with it, and I'll get that, and I don't need to publish it to everybody. So you can see that I didn't have to publish this to everybody. It was already there. I could make it private to myself. Let me see. So when we click here, you can see users. This agent is shared with, it's not shared with agent, is not shared with any individual. Yeah, let's see. You can see that it has my name. Are you seeing it? I created this. Right? Okay.
Sorry, I have a silly question. How
No,
come I'm not able to see that agent? Because I'm going through the same thing. How come I'm not able to see that agent?
no. I'm on a different tenant. Are
Oh,
you on
you're on a
tenant?
okay.
You're on
You're on
tenant E, Abby?
E. Right, right.
Okay,
That's
so
what I
let's
thought. I
go. So
wasn't sure.
thank you for that question. So let's go to tenant E and do something in tenant E so that we can all confirm that I was on tenant D. Sorry. So I'm going to switch to, I'm in E now, and then let me go to my chat. Okay, while that is loading, let me go to my admin center, and then we do the same thing. So as security, why this is loading, what are we trying to achieve? We were saying that as security personnel, we know that people can create agents that can imagine, like I said, that SharePoint. I can say go to SharePoint site of HR if I know the HR SharePoint site, right? I can pally my friend and get. I remember investigation and frauds. I did a lot of them in the bank, and one of them, there was a girl who her ATM money was withdrawn from her ATM, and so she flagged it. It was the bank she was working in, which were working her ATM card. So it was easy for her to, for us to prioritize it because she was a staff, curious. And then it was shown that the face of who used the ATM, and we're like, okay, how did this person get the PIN? Apparently, sometimes they are friends in the same department. They wanted to buy something. She said, "Oh, take my PIN, help me buy this on your way," and that was it. So the next time she wasn't there, her friend, who is colleague, took her card and took her PIN. And so when the investigation started, she said, "No, she gave me the PIN." And the friend was like, "I gave you the PIN XYZ time for XYZ thing. This debit happened this other time, right?" Why? But you can see that the friend took advantage of that. She knew her PIN, right, and tried to rob her, but was now acting nonchalant, like we're friends, we share pins. But that was not the case. You used the pin not on the day it was shared. So where am I going to? You could, somebody could have access or know something and then just create an agent. Person doesn't have to be going there. It's now the agent. Remember, it's not the user going there. When I create the agent will be the one running the tax and having that privilege to go there. So that's where agent identity comes, where we can restrict agents from being able to do certain things on certain dashboards. So let's come. We're in tenant E. Let's repeat the same thing. So in tenant E, again, we've gone through what we went through there, where we took you through different agents. We explored the agents. We saw the different agents, and we can filter from here. Publisher type. We say third party. How many third party apps do we agents do we have? We have 50. How many Microsoft agents do we have? You can see it here, we have 27. So you can see how it's almost the same default because some of those things are different. How many agents do we have by our users? We have about 18. So here, let's create a agent. Let's create an agent, new agent. Okay, just trying to. All right. So while it's doing that again, we go back to here, and let's go through some of the agents on this one. We have you're on tenant E, right? Can you see the agent called career coach? So let's look at this one, career coach. Okay, so we can see career coach was published by Sunday Mundi. Users, it was published in January. Okay, where is it getting the source? Okay, it doesn't use any information. They're good, doesn't have. So we like things like this when it doesn't use any of our company data. It's just going to internet. It doesn't use access. Yeah, so most of these are personal agents. So agents like this, when you see them, they're personal agents owned to the users, and they're okay. But then you can see that we can even get visibility into personal agents just in case some of these personal agent is trying to do too much. You can see the platform. This was built in Agent Builder. Yep. Which other one do we want to take from here? Let's see. Let's look at. I want something from Copilot Studio. Let's look at Tech Syndicate. There's nothing. Tech Syndicate is still in draft, so this is still. We can even see when it's still in draft. Let's look at Trailblazers. Okay. Okay, it was done on 19th May. Users. Again, good one. They don't take any data and permission from Entra. They're just straight, works in Teams channel and Copilot. Okay. All right. Let's go back to see if our agent. This one is Vol Intel Briefing. That's the name of this agent. Look at the website he wants to use for us. And that's it. We create our agent. All right, so we're not here to learn agent. We just want to see if it's on our dashboard. Let's go.
It's on there. I see it.
It's there, right? It's there now,
Yeah.
right? Good. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see it's there. I didn't assign it to anybody. I can now probably come to say, this agent is used by me. Let me not do it from here as the admin. Let me go do it as me, the owner of the agent. So let's say I want to. What's your name on the platform? What did we give your name? What's your account that they gave you?
Oh, my account. Oh, it's Christiana at TSP.
Yeah, so this is you. So
Yeah.
I'll just give you, at least these are people I know on the call. I'm sure some more people have joined, but at the early starters of the call, I'll just give the three of you just access alone. So what this means is that you can use the agent, right? Here is just showing you as an admin the agents, but other people can't. If you come to your M365, right, your m365.cloud.microsoft.com, by the left, you won't see this agent. You only see agents assigned to you. But by the time I apply this now, you should be able to see the agent with you. And so if I come back to here and refresh, I should also see that, it's been assigned to other users. Let's refresh. Let's come here. Let's check users. Yep, can you see? So when you don't see anybody here, it means that that agent is only seen by the person that created it, which is good. So when we are doing this, we want to see that, okay, only you that have this agent is good, but we want to also see where you put in your tools. You can see here, this one is going here, but no sensitivity label, that's fine. So imagine when I put company SharePoint sites here to be able to get stuff for me. We want to, at that point, it's becoming more restrictive. I've gotten an idea too. If I'm unable to get the license the way I want, what I will do is I will now go and create maybe random agents and then give them certain permissions, some privilege, some underprivilege, and then I'll just change the way our project topic would be. But I'll talk about that next week. But so far, right, are we now understanding what has been taught to us around the Agent 365? It did not exist before. This dashboard we're showing you prior to this year did not exist. So as an admin, as a security, AI security, you can begin to have this conversation with your bosses. If you don't have access to M365 in your organization, find out from your boss. Say, sir, I just completed a training on AI security for M365, and I wanted to know if you could approve for them to give me security reader, AI reader, so that I can go through our dashboard and I can put together a high-level executive summary report on the AI security risk that we have and share with you, and we can take it up on there to be able to propose to the organization how we can stay secure. And you can do this from Copilot. You do the overview, then you come here, you do the overview, just high level to show you're not remediating anything, but just to call out for your organization that they can see what level of exposure that your organization has, right? Again, when we come to tools, under tools, again, we can have another registry. What is here? Here is tools is the type of MCP servers our organizations are connected to and plugins, right? So as guys are developing, they'll be pulling plugins from different places. I don't know how many of you use Claude very well. I use Claude very well, and lots of time there are some skills that I want, I go to GitHub, but because I'm a security person, I'm very careful. Recently I found out that what hackers have been doing is they're now creating skills with skills that have what's the word to use, skills that have the ability to compromise your system, right? So what they do is you go to GitHub, you download it, because you need to install it on your system, or install it as a connector on your Claude, and most people would prefer to use their Claude code, which is installed on their system, and when they install that creates a backdoor from their system out. That's what hackers are doing now. So that kind of a thing, you want to know what kind of plugins or MCP servers your people are using in your organizations. Is there anyone that has been publicly flagged that, all of these ones too are, you can see their Microsoft Monday. So if I go to the GitHub now and download a plugin, right, and I install it and I use it, it will show here. So again, this gives you some form of visibility that you have 14 MCP servers currently in use, 7 plugins, and which gives you a total of 21 tools. So this is another visibility. You can see where people are using plugins that are probably it's been flagged as high risk in the organization. But then it can also, first of all, from high level, to give your organization insights into what is being used. Yeah, so this is Agent 365 and what it looks like. Any questions? And then we will quickly, I've seen we've passed our time, we'll quickly now go back to I'll show you let me see if I can quickly show us. I think we've looked at Azure conditional access policy in one of the class, but I'll show you what the new security dashboard looks like, right? So this is the new one Microsoft is releasing. It's called the security dashboard for AI. It's called ai.security.microsoft and is new. Again, Microsoft is trying to move some things off here, but you need a certain license. You need to go and turn on your Azure subscription, turn on data. It's called Data and AI something Defender, and then it will be able to pull this inventory for you. So this one will give you everything, right? It's not only, you can see here you have agents, so you'll be able to see also AI agent models, you'll be able to see MCP servers, and you'll be able to see other AI apps. That's why Microsoft is clicking this, right? So you can see here Cloud Apps Discovery is not configured, so I need to configure this, and then I'll be able to put all those visibility. I will do all of this so that by next week you'll be able to see it. But this is a new dashboard that Microsoft is giving us. While you have your M365 that focus here, now from an AI security perspective, which is where I want you guys to be positioning yourself, here is just focused on Copilot and agents, but the AI focuses on AI as a whole. So if you have somebody with your team in the organization that is building, maybe the team research and development, they are building AI models, right? Or they are using AI models to do stuff, they will all show here, right? And you can be able to, you can see, you can know the type, the label, the environment, the criticality. You can see Microsoft recommendation on how to secure it, and you can help the organization. Because most times when people are going for budget now to please management, say, management, give us funding, we want to build our own AI, this thing that will fly from here, they don't remember use security, and then when they release it, boom, attackers hit it and it's compromised. You see that a lot with applications. They use an application, everybody is excited, they go to market, they are hitting their numbers, and then attackers, then they remember security. So what Microsoft is doing is that from the moment your developers are using Microsoft technology to develop, you as security, whether they put you in the team or not, you can see visibility into all the gaps that exist, and based on that, you can make your proposition. So the security dashboard for AI is a new one. There's some configurations you need to do before you can start seeing it. And some access level, right? So that's what I work on, so I can show us that. But today I just wanted to extensively show us that with what we have, even if we don't have the two license, you can conduct your own agent, audit. So take one app. So again, I will refine what the project will look like, but on your own, just take and play around and understand what we've done, and you can see that I on my own have shown you that you can do some audits without having all the visibility. And just before we go, when you come to registry sync, right, this is where you add connection. I want to manage agents that are in another location. So here I will now point, is in Amazon, Google, Databricks in it. Where is that other platform? So if your organization has other platforms that they use to manage agents, right, you don't have to say, oh, we can't use Microsoft. Microsoft has allowed us, at least for these ones, as they grow. And then you just ask for API keys to connect, to authenticate, and then you'll be able to pull that platform here and also do the same whole agent registry and management that we have there. Okay, from a mind map perspective too, so you can see even without doing that publisher thing I was doing here, Microsoft has broken it down. I can see 27192 third party agent builder, Copilot Studio, again without even filtering one by one. Okay, we've passed our time by 2 hours. On that note, any question? Please don't forget to fill your attendance. Don't forget to fill your attendance. Please play around with the platform. You can see that it's doable. The essence for today was to say all the talk you have been hearing, you can click, it's doable, right? The whole idea is to get you familiar with how to use the agent registry and understand the controls that are in place. What we'll be achieving next week is very specific. I'll be coming to read what the project is about. I'll be telling you the project team. We're going to merge you in teams because you're not going to work alone. And then I will be showing you again the dashboard and guiding you on how you're supposed to deliver on your project, right? Our main goal was to allow you work on the agents the other colleagues are building so that we can put the control. But if in the event we cannot get the right license for you to do that, I would just create agents and share those agents per each of the team and tell you to do your security assessment on those agents we created and do your report here.